so Paladin knights, so much stuff with this Charlemagne, right? Good and right, and so I'll go, but and so I'll go start. Hello to you, how are you? Hope everything is fine back there. Well, at least now we are all together again for another daily ASMR video. And today let's dig into the legendary Paladin Knights or Paladins, the ultimate knights of medieval Europe. Alright, peace. Okay, these guys were like the Avengers of the early Middle Ages, but with swords, chivalry, and holy missions. Well, the term Paladins, also called 12 peers, so 12 pairs, 2 pair are 12 legendary knights, 12 legendary knights. Members of Charlemagne court in the 8th century. They first appear in medieval chansons de geste of the Matter of France, where they play a similar role to the Knights of the Round Table in the Arthurian romance. Well, in these romantic portrayals, the Paladins represents Christianity against the Saracens or Muslims. Christianity against Saracens. Invasion in Europe. The name of Paladins vary between sources, but they are always 12. Alright, and now let's dig into deeper into the facts. So, the name Paladins, or 12 peers of Charlemagne, era of 8th century until 11th century, in the Carolingian period. The armor class, they were full plate. Chainmail underneath. The weapon of choice mostly was a sword or a long sword, and sometimes a warhammer, and of course a shield, a one-hand shield. They run war horses, usually armored horses. Historical echoes, while largely legendary, some figures like Roland. Here is the death of Roland, were likely based on real Frankish knights. Who fought in the Battle of Roncesvalles in 778. Here is the death of Roland depicted. Paladins were seen as embodiment of knightly virtue, bravery, loyalty, honor, and faith. Charlemagne named them holy warriors. Holy warriors. In later interpretations, and they were becoming divinely empowered knights in some legends. The name Paladin comes from Paladin. Is equal to comes from Latin Palatinus. Latin Palatinus. Meaning palace official knight Paladinus. The originally Paladins were literally a knight squad, 12 elite bros with legendary gear and horses, armored horses. A quirky fact is that Roland's swords had a name, Durandal. So this sword, the name was Durandal. It was said to contain a tooth of Saint Peter's and blood of Saint Basil's. And this is what made it a holy weapon. The chansons or song stories about paladins were full of jealousy, betrayal, and beef, like a medieval soap opera. In real life, they weren't just warriors, some were religious zealots, noble, poets, or even local rulers. Well, the real versus myth. Real versus myth. Historians believe many paladin knights' tales were propaganda. So, propaganda made up by Charlemagne as a Christian king that is backed by holy warriors. There were also cultural crossovers. Some Muslim warriors and other Saracen knights often appear in Paladin stories, showing somehow the blend of reality and politics. While Roland is the most famous, authors like Auger de Dan, Renaud, Montauban, Astolfo had wild stories too, including one where Astolfo rides a flying skit to the moon. Later on, some later romance and modern adaptations feature female paladins, armored heroines challenging the medieval enemies. Paladins were rock stars of medieval legends. Rock stars of medieval more mythical, more right house, and they seems to be chosen by the destiny or the divine will. But that's all the charms of tales of gods. Well, there is a legend that one of the paladins, one of the 12 paladins, was cursed to be hairy forever. Hairy forever. Ogier de Dan. Ogier de Dan. Had a son named Baldwin. Who get cursed to be permanently covered in hair like a wild man. And he lived in the woods and eventually became a kind of monk. Medieval legends really loved a good side plot, right? But these are just rumors. Well, not all paladins were blindly loyal to Charlemagne. Some, like Renaud, rebelled against their leader due to betrayal or personal honor conflicts. Well, most of them are just legendary tales or myths, but who knows where the true lie between. But what is important is that even if they are true stories or tales, the charm still remains even today, and the paladins might become fantasy personage and characters in RPG games, movies, and modern writings. So the heritage is still present. Thank you very much for enjoying or attending this ASMR session.